Paul Gunter with BeyondNuclear.org on the line with us. Paul, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thanks again, Tom.
I understand that there are two seemingly contradictory bits of information out there. One is that there is no substantial quantity of plutonium in the spent fuel rods stored up on the roof of the Unit 3 reactor, as we had been reporting on the assumption that they were there because the reactor is fueled with it. Although I suppose all nuclear waste, all spent fuel, contains small amounts of plutonium because they're produced during the fission reaction. Certain small amounts of fusion go on. But the contradictory part of that, or the other side of that, is that there's plutonium being found scattered all around the area. So if it's not on top of the reactor, where's it coming from?
Well, let's start with the fact that we had identified on your program that there was that the Unit 3 was a plutonium oxide reactor, and I think we all assumed that meant that fuel transferred from the reactor to the rooftop pool there would have been this plutonium oxide or mixed oxide. We have been in touch with our colleagues in Japan who spent 10 years fighting the fueling of these mixed oxide reactors, and they have confirmed, or at least they have assured us, that the delay, that their opposition to mixed oxide fuel means that Unit 3 does not have the mixed oxide, but has this uranium, enriched uranium fuel in it. The mixed oxide is still in the reactor vessel. So 4 to 5% of the reactor core at Daiichi 3 is this very, very serious plutonium oxide fuel. Well, it's all deadly, Tom, and that's, I mean, what we are establishing now, that there's still, hundreds of, I think the estimate now is about 990 kilograms of plutonium in the fuel pool for 3 alone, and, this is a substantial amount. You're right now that the plutonium has been found in soil samples that actually Tokyo Electric Power Company took a week ago. They knew a week ago that there was plutonium in the soil samples on the site. And so it's this, here again, information disclosures are not being made in timely manners, and they're still trying to control information where they can't control these reactors. Right. But that's, it's still, each of these 6 pools has plutonium in the fuel, the irradiated fuel, as the result of fissioning uranium, enriched uranium. Right. But then again, Unit 3, this plutonium oxide reactor, has a vertical crack in the pressure vessel, and it's clear now that Units 2 and 3 have failed containment. So you've got a failed vessel. The fuel cladding fails, melts, generates all this radioactive gas, hydrogen, and particulate. Then the vessel fails, and so you get radioactive water standing in the turbine buildings. And now we've got radioactive water in a trench that's just 190 feet from the ocean. It's at astronomical levels. It's obviously radioactive water that is leaking from the reactor core, and now breached containment, left the reactor building, and now filling a trench that's 190 feet from the sea.
And as this gets into the sea, as it presumably inevitably will, it's going to get into the ocean food chain.
It has.
Would think. It has already.
It has already. What we are now worried about, though, is that this will go unchecked. Right. I mean, as the radiation fields continue to build, now that wider areas are contaminated and more contaminated, these radiation fields will. It is our concern then bar worker operations, short of suicide missions that, eventually lead to the evacuation of emergency crews, control room operators, and then the whole thing just continues to deteriorate.
Right.
And you're put in a position of continually backing away, and that eventually means a complete loss of all 6 reactors.
Paul, the radioactive plumes over the United States, they've measured radioactive iodine in Massachusetts. Presumably that means it's pretty much everywhere in the United States, particularly anywhere it's rained recently. And although looking at the maps, it seems like it swept over the southern United States and then went up the East Coast, came across Southern California, went up over the Rockies, swept down the south, came up the East Coast. Maybe. I mean, we don't know. That's just the pattern of the Gulf Stream, it seems, or the weather being pushed by the Gulf Stream, held in place by the Gulf Stream. But and there's probably not much we can do here in the United States other than just brace ourselves for a wave of thyroid failures and just general cancers from everything else, in addition to the thyroid from everything I'm hearing, because it's quote low level end quote, so nobody does anything about it, which means that it just 1 in 3 Americans get cancer right now. 1 in 500 will get cancer from low level radiation. There's going to be a few more cancers, but that's the airborne stuff. What do we know about radiation that gets into the sea? Does it all settle to the bottom of the ocean long before it reaches the United States? Or is water, so much more, I don't know if viscous is the right word, but, it's a completely different compound than air. It's a liquid rather than a gas. Does water more effectively carry radiation long distances? I mean, there is a current, an ocean current that goes from the Japan area. Well, there's several of them actually. The Great Conveyor Belt goes south around the coast of South Africa and up along the east coast of South America, and then the United States. That's called the Gulf Stream. And then there are others that cross the Pacific Ocean. Any idea what all that's going to mean in the minute we have left here, Paul?
Well, if you put a glass of water in the middle of the room and leave it over time, eventually that glass of water will disperse itself uniformly over the entire room in water molecules.
It's called evaporation.
Evaporation. The radioactivity that's escaping from Fukushima is basically doing the same thing right now. It's looking to uniformly disperse itself all over the entire biosphere. The problem is, whether we're talking about atmospheric releases or about releases to the ocean, there's also this other process in nature called bioaccumulation and biomagnification, which means that algae will take the radiation out of the water, and then they will accumulate it in theirs, and then it begins to build up in the food chain. And so you get this bioaccumulation process where the biology absorbs it, and then biomagnification as it goes up the food chain.
Right, like we see with mercury from coal-fired power plants.
Yes, and this essentially constitutes a growing risk to all life as this accident continues.
Paul Gunter, BeyondNuclear.org, keeping an eye on what's going on, bringing us up to date. Paul, real quick question: if you lived in Tokyo, would you leave the country?
I don't know that there's any place to go, Tom.
Yeah.
I think the focus must now be
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Must be on what?
Be on stopping this accident from
Be on stopping the accident. Okay, got it. Paul, thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it.